The current priorities for any of the organizations that we do business with are right now around protecting the organization, protecting the agencies, and protecting, most importantly, their data. It used to be that you were able to essentially ward off signature-based threats for quite a long period of time, and now the threat landscape has changed. The perimeter as we know it, the enterprise perimeter as we know it, is slowly disappearing. The promise is not materializing thanks to cloud, social, and mobile technologies. And now people are wondering, how can I protect my enterprise against these advanced threats and insider threats? Those are the primary challenges that they are facing. So the top challenges are around trying to protect the organization and protecting the data. It is a very different threat landscape today than it was even a few years ago. These advanced threats, are essentially, coming in droves, right? And basically they have a whole bunch of security products, thanks to defense in-depth strategies, peppered across the enterprise. And these technologies are essentially spewing alerts, and they don't necessarily talk to each other. And if I want to put together any semblance of a threat, I have to run between consoles, look at two-dimensional charts, and try to piece them together manually. With advanced threats, these strategies will not work. So security teams don't even know where to start, right? 4% of alerts are investigated today, and 40% of intrusions go undetected. So that's one of the primary challenges. The second one is around resources. As you've seen in the papers already, security teams are lacking the skills and the knowledge to chase some of these new threats, in this new threat landscape. I think the examples of the problems that we're facing from a security perspective are there in the news every day. Target, Neiman Marcus, Anthem, OPM of late, they are all testaments to some of the problems that they are facing. What is going on is these advanced threat actors are very, very patient, and they're backed by nation states or by cyber criminals. And what they're doing is they're essentially targeting some of the weakest links using social engineering methodology in order to compromise credentials of an insider and act like an insider and start to stealing data. So one of the things that they're doing is they're not just compromising an individual and saying, let me now get out of here. What they want to be able to do is stay inside your network, a concept of what we call dwell time, and then laterally move within the network. The more time they are in your network, the more they can map your network, look at where the assets are, and compromise it. The more time they stay, then there is more compromise and exposure to damage. I think what needs to happen from a best practices perspective, I think there's a few things that need to happen. First of all, the foundational elements of security needs to be in place, be it identity management, access management, defense in-depth strategies. All these things are still very, very applicable today. There is also another aspect that needs to be taken very seriously, and that has to do with user training and increasing the awareness. Anymore, security is not a one-way conversation. It is a two-way conversation right now. And so users have to be responsible. If they want flexibility, like BYOD, want to be able to access company information or agency information from anywhere they are, be it home or at a Starbucks, then they should also have some responsibility in helping protect that data. So, these two elements, come together, if you will, in order to start putting together the basic framework. And the third aspect is having a proper framework, whether it's policy-based, whether it's risk-based, whatever it might be. I think there needs to be some sort of a framework that the organization would follow in order to set up their security elements in place. As far as lessons learned, I think it is very evident. I mean, for a long period of time, we have worked on, preventing everything that is coming in. That works very well if you had a signature for a threat, if you knew what the threat was going to be. But right now, we have come to the realization that prevention, while ideal, compromise is going to be inevitable. It is a determined attacker who is going to get in. If that person wants to get into your enterprise, they will. It is a matter of when and not if. So next to that, next to prevention, we should be able to contain and control threats. Those are the strategies that enterprises and agencies should be looking at. What is the thing that we need to do once the attacker is in, such as controlling dwell time, or lateral movement and things of that nature, so we can contain exposure and still protect the data. And of course, there is always the case of data classification, network segmentation. While the government, certain agencies have taken it very seriously, by and large, commercial organizations have not paid much attention to it. But I think data classification, understanding where your data is, what data you've collected, what is the classification of the data, and then segmenting your network accordingly, and then providing access control to it. Those are lessons that commercial industry can learn from government and start implementing them to enhance their security posture. I think the GTRA, HTRA meeting format is very, very conducive for networking and also building a relationship and getting to know the audience, from my perspective, very well. What are their issues that they are facing? How are things that they are doing? What can they do better to enhance, their enterprise security posture? Having a one-on-one conversation like that in this format is very, very useful. And overall, with the panel type discussion, it also is very, very congenial for people to bring up best practices, talk about lessons learned, what has worked, what's not worked, what are the challenges that they face, and things of that nature in a more, expert forum kind of a, kind of a format. I think the attendance at the council meeting is very varied. You see directors, you see managers, as well as CISOs and CIOs here. So I think there is a very large variance. The spectrum is large, so now you can not only get the business side of aspects of it, but also the operational and technical aspects of their problems and their challenges. As far as the best meeting or interaction I've had, so far there has been quite a few, but I'll single out one, and that was the panel that I was moderating yesterday on cybersecurity strategies. We had a very good panel of experts, as well as there were experts in the audience. And so instead of me just asking the panel questions, it became a very interactive discussion with the audience participating with the panelists and carrying the discussion, after the panel session was over as well. I think that provides, if you will, the crux of what this is about. It is not just about having a one-hour meeting, but having a relationship, building a relationship to carry this discussion forward so all of us can benefit in this industry.